Today we're going to be looking at how to adjust the tension of the drive belt on your early rider pedal bike. Now it's important to do this because incorrect tension could result in the belt coming off of the sprockets or excessive wear of components. So before we begin, we're going to take a look and familiarise ourselves with the components that we'll be working with today. The main components of a drivetrain consist of the front sprocket, the drive belt, the rear sprocket, the dropout plate, the dropout plate bolts, and the tensioner bolt. Today we're going to be demonstrating on the 16-inch bike. However, the process is exactly the same for both the 16 and the 20-inch models. Now, the belt comes correctly adjusted for tension from the factory. However, after a bedding in period or a longer period where you may have some component wear, you may need to readjust the tension of the belt. You may also find that if the rear wheel has taken a large knock, or you've had to remove the rear wheel to repair a puncture, that you may also need to readjust the tension of the belt. Therefore, it's important to ensure that the rear wheel is correctly seated within the dropouts before you begin the adjustment procedure. The best way to do this is to place the bike on the floor and loosen the wheel bolts on either side. Ensure the wheel is sitting correctly in the dropouts and retighten the wheel bolts. You're then ready to start the adjustment process. Here we can see a belt that's correctly adjusted. The belt should be running approximately centrally on the rear sprocket, but may be biased very slightly towards either edge. As long as the belt is no closer than 2 to 3 millimeters to either edge of the sprocket, this is perfectly acceptable. And likewise, the belt should be sitting centrally on the front sprocket and not riding up onto the teeth on either side. And when the belt is correctly tensioned, there should be approximately 15 millimeters of up and down movement. Here we have a belt which is adjusted incorrectly. As we can see, the belt is running far too close to the outer edge of the sprocket. To adjust the belt, you'll need the following tools: a 5mm Allen key, a 3mm Allen key, and a 7mm spanner or small adjustable spanner. First of all, using the 5mm Allen key, we loosen the two dropout plate bolts, first of all on the drive side, then on the non-drive side. Next, we use a 7mm spanner or adjustable spanner to back off the lock nut on both the tensioner bolts on either side of a bike. We adjust the belt by winding the tensioner bolts in or out accordingly. Winding the tensioner bolts in pushes the dropout plate towards the rear of the bike, increasing the tension of the belt, and vice versa. To adjust the belt correctly, we will have to adjust the tensioner bolts on both sides of the bike. To begin with, we start on the drive side of the bike and adjust the tensioner bolt until we've achieved a correct tension in the belt, which is approximately 15 millimeters of up and down movement. We then adjust the tensioner bolt on the non-drive side of the bike until the belt is running centrally on the rear sprockets. When adjusting the tensioner bolts, you may have to apply some light pressure to the wheel to encourage the dropout plate to move within the frame. Once you are happy that the belt is running centrally on the sprockets and the tension is correct, tighten one of the dropout plate bolts on either side of the bike and recheck. You may have to repeat this procedure several times to achieve the optimum balance of tension and alignment. Once you are happy the optimum balance of tension and alignment have been achieved, do up the remaining dropout plate bolts and nip up the tensioner bolt lock nuts using the 7mm spanner. The adjustment of the belt is now complete and you're ready to ride. We recommend rechecking the tension and alignment of the belt on a regular basis to ensure trouble-free biking.